This story was shared by someone who used to take the same bus home every night after work. Same route, same time, same stop. It was routine, predictable, until one night, a different bus showed up. One that wasn't supposed to exist. Welcome to Tales Beyond the Flame. He worked late shifts, usually finishing around 11:30 p.m. By the time he walked to his stop, it was close to midnight. The streets were always quiet by then, with only the occasional car passing through. The bus he took was reliable. Same driver most nights. Same small group of regular passengers. It was the kind of routine you stop thinking about. That's why he noticed immediately when something felt off. That night, the street was completely empty. No cars, no people. Even the nearby shops, which usually had lights on, were completely dark. It wasn't unusual for things to be quiet that late. But this felt different. Like everything had shut down earlier than it should have. He checked his phone. 11:58 p.m. Right on time. The bus should have been there within a minute or two. He waited. A minute passed. Then another. Still nothing. Then, in the distance, he saw headlights. Relief. The bus was coming. But as it got closer, something felt wrong. The lights were dimmer than usual. Not broken, just weaker. And as it pulled up to the stop, he noticed something else. There was no route number displayed, just a blank panel where the number should have been. He hesitated. For a second, he considered letting it pass, but it stopped directly in front of him. The doors opened, and the driver looked straight at him, not smiling, not speaking, just staring, waiting. He stepped on. The moment he entered, he felt it. The air inside the bus was colder than outside, not freezing, but noticeably wrong, like stepping into a place that hadn't been used in a long time. He glanced around. There were passengers, a few of them, sitting quietly, spread out. None of them looked at him, not even for a second. That was unusual. On a late-night bus, people always glanced up when someone new got on, even briefly, but not here. Everyone just stared forward, completely still. He moved toward the middle and sat down. The doors closed behind him. The bus pulled away. At first, everything seemed normal. Same route, same turns, same streets. But after a few minutes, he noticed something. The bus wasn't stopping. Not at any of the usual stops. It just kept going. He looked out the window. They had already passed 2 stops where people normally got off. No one moved. No one pressed the button. No one reacted. The driver didn't slow down. Didn't even hesitate. He leaned forward slightly, trying to get a better look at the driver. Still the same thing. Just staring straight ahead. No expression. No movement. That's when he noticed something else. The windows. They looked darker than usual. Not tinted. Just harder to see through. Like the outside was slightly out of focus. He rubbed the glass with his sleeve. It didn't change anything. The streetlights outside looked distant, blurred, like they were further away than they should be. He checked his phone again. No signal, not even one bar. That had never happened on this route before. He shifted in his seat, suddenly very aware of how quiet the bus was. No engine hum, no rattling, no sound of movement at all, just silence. And then, very slowly, he turned his head and looked at the nearest passenger. The man was sitting upright, facing forward, completely still, but something was wrong. His posture was too rigid, too perfect, like he hadn't moved at all, for a long time. Then, without turning his head, the man's eyes shifted, just his eyes, looking directly at him. And that's when he realized No one else on the bus had blinked once. He looked away immediately, his chest tightening, trying to convince himself he was overreacting, that there was a normal explanation, but he couldn't ignore what he had just seen. He glanced at another passenger. Same thing, facing forward, still, unmoving. Then, slowly, their eyes moved, looking at him, not turning their heads, not changing expression, just their eyes, one by one, every single person on the bus, until all of them were looking directly at him. He stood up, heart pounding. "Is this the right route?" No one answered. Not the driver, not the passengers, nothing, just silence. He moved toward the front of the bus, faster now, trying not to look at anyone. "Hey, can you stop the bus?" Still nothing. The driver didn't react, didn't move, didn't even blink. The bus kept going. The outside streets didn't look familiar anymore. The buildings were there, but wrong. Too dark, too empty. Like a version of the city that had been left behind. He reached the front and grabbed the pole beside the driver. "Stop the bus." No response. Then, the driver slowly turned his head. Not fully, just enough to look at him. And for the first time, he saw his face clearly. There was no expression, no emotion, nothing human in the way he looked at him. Then the driver spoke. Quiet. Flat. "You weren't supposed to get on this one." The bus jolted violently. The lights flickered, and suddenly, everything went dark. For a moment, there was nothing. No light, no sound, just complete darkness. Then the bus slammed to a stop. The lights came back on. Normal. Bright. The doors were open. He was standing alone at a bus stop. A different one. Not his usual. Not even close. The street looked normal again. Cars passing, lights on in buildings, everything exactly how it should be. He turned around. The bus was gone. No sound of it leaving. No headlights disappearing. Nothing. Just gone. He checked his phone. Full signal. Time. 12:03 a.m. Only a few minutes had passed, but it felt like much longer. He never saw that bus again. Never saw any of those passengers again. And when he checked the route schedule the next day, there's no record of a bus running at that time. Not early, not late, not delayed, nothing. Just the same normal schedule as always. But he stopped taking that route after that, found another way home, because he couldn't shake one thought, that the bus hadn't been late, it hadn't been early, it had just been the wrong one. And if he had stayed on longer, if the driver hadn't noticed, he might not have gotten off at all.